How a single flower can destroy a country. Triggered the first financial crisis in history. Read the history of the Netherlands in one go. A population of only 1.50 million. A country that covers an area similar to Sichuan in China. Once, they monopolize more than 80% of the world's trade. Futures in the modern financial system. Stock. Banks are basically carried forward by Hunan people. Due to the fact that Hunan is located in a coastal area, the highest altitude is only 321 meters. The minimum is -6, 7 meters. High tides are often submerged. Agriculture is basically impossible to develop. Generations can only make a living by fishing. As a result, Hunan people shape their business minds early on. Then the Netherlands. How to get from a Spanish exploitative colony, step-by-step counterattack, to become the center of the world economy, the most powerful country at sea. In the early 16th century, the Netherlands is still a miserable country. North Sea facing the Atlantic Ocean, backed by the vast European continent. The Netherlands has convenient maritime transportation. Become a bobo in the eyes of colonial powers. Spain, through the marriage of nobles, colonized the Netherlands. A large amount of gold and silver treasure is confiscated from the Netherlands every year to protect Spain's maritime trade hegemony. The Dutch were also restricted from going to sea for business. Crazy extraction in Spain. Most people in the Netherlands are unemployed. Class contradictions erupt. 1568. Opposition to Spanish rule broke out in the Netherlands. Dutch War of Independence. The Dutch resistance was not united. Make the Spanish army. Beat them with ease. Facing the harsh reality, the Dutch provinces had to band together. In 1579, representatives from the northern provinces of the Netherlands signed the agreement, form a military alliance to face the enemy together. In 1581, various cities in the Netherlands revolted. After the Dutch Revolution, removed King of Spain, sovereignty over the provinces of the Netherlands, formal declaration of independence. The 7 provinces joined forces to form the Dutch Federation. The Republic gave the merchant class a country with full political rights. It's unprecedented. Before independence, the economic resources of the Netherlands, mainly through trade with Spain. But after independence, Spain imposes an economic blockade on the Netherlands. The Netherlands, after independence, relying solely on its own land resources to develop. They don't have what it takes to survive. Relative independence between provinces, but the merchant class desperate for wealth. Transform the love of money into a power. This cohesion, enabling the Netherlands to possess a weapon more powerful than kingship. Hunan people decided to go from the colonial younger brother to the middleman, become a voyage fighter. Open up on your own. Routes to the East and America. If it were achieved by Dutch merchants alone, it's impossible for a coachman at sea. Build boat. Maybe he turned into a ditch before he went out. Also defend against One Piece in the UK. So the Dutch government came up with a solution. A business person who wants to start a business doesn't need to build a boat and go to sea. Have money. Technology out of technology. You only need to buy shares to pay dividends at your own risk. Therefore, in 1602, under the leadership of the Dutch Republic, the Dutch United East India Company came into being. The Hunan government granted the East India Company exclusive privileges, allowing the company to negotiate treaties, wage war, become an independent sovereign entity. East India Company, by financing the whole society, the wealth that will be scattered, it has become the capital for its own external expansion. The Dutch want to pay less taxes. He also invented a ship with a very large cabin capacity, a ship with a narrow deck, a merchant ship shaped like a narrow gourd. This merchant ship does not set up cannons, only consider shipping. No need to consider protection. So the total cost is only half of the Spanish merchant ship. Even if it is robbed by pirates, the loss is much less. after everything is ready, the East India Company's fleet set off quickly. The East India Company, in just 5 years after its establishment, the company, 50 merchant fleets are dispatched overseas every year. This amount, more than Spain, and the sum of the Portuguese fleet. Before the establishment of the East India Company, business law in the Netherlands, winning recognition in the maritime trade market. As early as 1596, the Dutch captain Baron led the fleet, trying to find a way, routes from the north to Asia, also known as the Northeast Passage. In this adventure, they went through the Three Wennier, but trapped by the frozen sea. Captain Baron and his 17 Dutch sailors, trapped in this cold sea of ice, after 8 months of long winter. However, it is admirable that, in such a dangerous situation, they didn't move at all, goods entrusted to them by others. These include life-saving clothing and medicine. But the Dutch East India Company, his means of making money are of extremely low quality. The deception along the way. Many Asian and European countries have stepped on his pit. So, how to implement safety escort for merchant ships without cannons? This brings us to the East India Company. Prospectus. No dividends for the first 10 years. Put all the money you earn into infrastructure and armaments. Merchant ships escorted by the Dutch fleet. When trade dominance was established 10 years later, the East India Company just started. Distribute high dividends every year. Hanan Renkong East India Company share system. Extend a new capital flow system. 1609, the first bourse in world history. Born in Amsterdam. The Dutch can always pass through bourse. Free trading of shares in the East India Company. With the overseas trade of the East India Company. Huge benefits. He quickly became a target for investors. And it's not just the Dutch. There are also many foreign countries. People start buying like crazy in the market. Shares in the Dutch East India Company. It made him one of the world's the most profitable company. Its market capitalization, $80,000 billion, remains the world's first. Even with today's Apples, Tesla and Microsoft combined are far behind. In order to cope with the large amount of gold and silver currency, rapid circulation, the resulting economic congestion, the Dutch conducted a series of explorations, the banks that built a modern financial system. In 1609, the Bank of Amsterdam was established and introduced a brand new financial instrument. Banknotes are stipulated when the transaction amount exceeds 600. The Netherlands must be used immediately. Merchants can transfer the precious metal currency in their hands. Deposit in bank, in exchange for bank notes of the corresponding denomination. With the endorsement of the East India Company, although it is just a piece of paper. Bank notes of the Bank of Amsterdam become hard currency. The world's largest correct market. Plus the blessing of the largest bank. Amsterdam is gradually becoming a world financial center. Mid-17th century, the Netherlands' global commercial hegemony. It's firmly established. The Dutch East India Company already has 15,000 branches. Trade accounts for half of the world's total trade. 10,000 merchant ships flying the Dutch tricolor. Sailing the world's 5 oceans. In Central Asia, the Dutch occupied Taiwan and monopolized Japan's foreign trade in Southeast Asia. Dutch, they turned Indonesia into their own colony. The Dutch East India Company was established in Africa. The Dutch captured Seer from Portugal. Line out the Cape of Good Hope in Oceania. The Netherlands named New Zealand after the province of Zeelandia. In South America, occupation of Brazil. In North America, at the mouth of the Hudson River, built the city of West Amsterdam. It later became New York City today. then this station dominates the world. How the state of financial order fell from the altar. Just because of a flower. Tulip foam, bringing the first financial crisis to humanity. The Dutch who owned East India stocks. Desire can no longer be satisfied on a material basis. At that time, tulips were introduced to the Netherlands from Turkey, due to the long growth cycle of tulips. Cultivation from seed to cochidium. It takes years to take root and germinate into flowers. Seen by the upper class as a symbol of wealth. Ubiquitous speculators, after witnessing this phenomenon, start stockpiling tulip globules, then sell at a high price. Frenzied market. Attract more people. Join the trade in tulips. Even the traders who sell fish and vegetables. I want a piece of that shit. To facilitate the trading of tulips. The Dutch also invented melancholy for this purpose. Futures of Jinxiong refinement. Both parties to the transaction sign a contract. Just pay a deposit first. You can buy out this tulip in advance. Wait until Eugene Hong Kong departs before making up the balance. Sign futures contract. It can circulate freely in the market. The price of tulips has risen sharply. Since 1635, a tulip of good quality can be exchanged for a few pigs. After a year, the price has directly doubled several times. To earn more money, capital also plays differentiated marketing for tulips. Divide tulips into several varieties. A tulip called Augustus variant. In 1637, 5,000 Dutch tons were auctioned off. You can buy Beijing at this price. A house in a courtyard. It's a family's income for hundreds of years. In crazy capital markets, almost all the land assets that can be sold are mortgaged. Forced leverage. In exchange for a futures contract for tulips. As the saying goes, extremes must reverse. The bubble finally burst in 1637. As time goes by, the first tulip contracts on the market. To be cashed. No one wants to hold real gold, silver to exchange for that flower. I'm afraid I won't be able to support it if I get it. Or wouldn't it be bankrupt if it was stolen? The market began to sell off tulip contracts in large quantities. The price of tulips has shrunk significantly in a few days. The frenzied market ushered in calm. People are starting to realize this flower is not worth that much at all. What a coincidence! A British sailor transporting tulips. Eat the leeks after refining the tulips. The Chia Nike is a breed of Augustus. Claim for compensation of 6,700. Captain Hollington took the sailor to court. The judge who heard the case was at a loss. A tulip is just a flower. It is not comparable to gold and silver. But outside the courtroom, hold tulips. The contract holders are waiting for the penalty result. Facing public pressure, the court can only delay the case again and again. The panicked market thanks again. The once unattainable price of tulips. The price of an ordinary flower. The Dutch government has directly suspended the tulip trade. Countless people went bankrupt. The bursting of the tulip bubble. Deadly destruction of the Dutch financial system. Although in 1638, Dutch government, the tulip futures market is open again. But the price of tulips that have been discounted online, reduced to garbage that no one wants. After the financial crisis, the Netherlands was targeted by the UK, provoked war against the Netherlands many times. The opportunity to steal the Netherlands' share of world trade. After the nuclear war, the Netherlands began to decline. After Britain seized maritime hegemony, created an empire where the sun never sets through colonial aggression.